The first thing I heard after waking in another man's body was the midwife whispering that the baby's father had come to kill us. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and tell me in the comments what you would do if the most feared man in the kingdom appeared outside your door. Part 1. Pain tore through me. I remembered falling asleep over a fantasy novel, not this freezing cottage or the terrified woman beside me. I looked down and understood two impossible things at once. This body was pregnant, and the child was coming now. "Maren, breathe," the midwife said. "You are 26 years old and stronger than you think." The name cracked open memories that were not mine. Maren had been an Omega translator at court. He vanished 8 months ago after being accused of selling military letters to northern rebels. The novel mentioned him only once, as a traitor found dead without a grave. It had never mentioned a baby. Hooves thundered outside the cottage. The midwife went pale. Duke Dain Arclight. Everyone in the novel feared him. Dain was the king's warhound, a 32-year-old alpha who had crushed the northern uprising. He exposed liars and never forgave betrayal. He was supposed to return tomorrow and uncover a plot against the crown. Instead, he was outside my door while I was giving birth to his child. Another memory flashed. Dain held Maren's wrist in a moonlit archive and warned, "If they learn what you found, they will use you to reach me." Then he pressed a silver ring into Maren's palm. "How do you know he is the father?" I asked. The midwife stared at me. "You told me never to speak his name." A fist struck the door. "Open it," a man commanded from outside. His voice made every borrowed memory inside me recoil and reach for him at the same time. The midwife pushed a small knife into my hand. "There is a passage under the pantry. I can delay them." I could barely sit up. Then the novel's forgotten line returned. The traitor was found beside a burned border cottage. The person who killed Maren was already close. "Do not open the door," I whispered. The window shattered. A burning bolt buried itself in the wall above my head. The midwife screamed. Someone outside wanted every secret here turned to ash. The door crashed inward. A tall man stepped through the smoke, rain shining in his dark hair, and a pale scar crossing one eyebrow. The soldiers behind him stopped as if a king had entered. Dain Arclight looked at me. Then his gaze dropped to my stomach, and the room seemed to lose all air. "Leave us," he said. "Your Grace," the midwife protested. "The child is coming." "Then save them both." Another bolt hit the roof. Dain ordered his soldiers to surround the cottage, then knelt beside me. He did not question the child or accuse me of treason. "Maren," he said quietly. "Who found you?" "I do not know." His eyes sharpened. "You always know." I wanted to say I was not Maren, but pain stole my voice and my fingers closed around his hand. Dain froze. His scent of cedar and winter rain filled my lungs. This body relaxed. Maren's instincts remembered safety. "Stay," I gasped. Something changed in Dain's expression. "You disappeared before dawn. You left me a confession written in a cipher only we knew. You said the child could never survive near me. Now someone has found you anyway." "I was protecting the baby." "From me?" The hurt beneath the question was more frightening than rage. The roof groaned. Dain lifted me and carried me through smoke and rain to an armored carriage. Arrows struck its iron sides as the horses fled. The birth blurred into pain, and Dain's hand locked around mine. When the baby's first cry filled the carriage, the feared Duke bowed his head as if defeated. "A healthy boy," the midwife said. Relief broke across Dain's face. Then the midwife cleaned the baby's shoulder and went still. There was a dark crescent beneath his collarbone. Dain's relief vanished. "That is not an Arclight birthmark," he said. The midwife clutched the child closer. "Then whose is it?" Dain removed a sealed letter from beneath the seat. The same crescent marked its black wax. Maren's memories identified the faction that framed him and planned to murder the king. "They marked him before he was born," Dain said. "Someone in the royal physician's circle had access to you. Why would they want my baby?" Dain broke the seal. The final name on its list was Maren Ash. Beside it were 2 words. Living key. Dain looked from the letter to me. Because the stolen messages were never military orders. They were instructions for opening the king's blood vault, and you are the only person alive who translated them. I held the crying child against my chest as a new memory surfaced. Maren hiding the completed translation inside a silver ring. Maren placing that ring into Dain's hand on the night they separated. The ring, I whispered. Where is it? Dain's face hardened. You took it when you left. Before I could answer, the carriage stopped violently. A soldier outside cried out, then silence swallowed the road. A blade pushed through the door from the other side. Dain drew his sword and placed himself between us and the attacker. Without turning, he spoke words that shattered everything I thought I knew about Maren's past. Do not let them take our son, husband. They already stole your memory once. End of Part 1. Part 2. The blade tore through the carriage door inches from Dain's shoulder. He caught the attacker's wrist through the broken wood and twisted until bone cracked. A masked man fell against the carriage as Dain drove his sword through the door. I clutched the newborn against my chest, while the midwife braced herself against the wall. Stay behind me, Dain ordered. There is nowhere behind you. His mouth almost curved, as if Maren had once answered him the same way. Then another attacker climbed through the opposite window. The midwife swung her medical bag into his face. I grabbed the small knife she had given me, and cut the strap holding his mask. It fell away. I recognized him. Captain Sorrel had served in Dain's personal guard throughout the novel. He was supposed to die protecting the Duke during the final battle. Sorrel looked at me with hatred. You should have burned with the letters. Dain struck him across the temple before he could reach the baby. Sorrel collapsed, but a black capsule rolled from between his teeth. Dain kicked it away before he could swallow the poison. Dain's remaining soldiers dragged 2 attackers from the road. The carriage had stopped beside a ravine, its front wheels split by a chain stretched across the mud. Dain opened the door and lifted me again. I can walk, I said. You gave birth less than an hour ago. You are bleeding. He glanced at the cut across his shoulder. It is not important. It is to me. The words escaped before I understood them. Dain went still, and the hard mask on his face cracked for a heartbeat. You said that the night we married, he murmured. I looked toward the soldiers. Dain carried me down a narrow path to an abandoned watchtower hidden among black pines. The midwife followed with the baby, while 2 guards brought the unconscious captain. Inside, Dain secured the doors and ordered a soldier named Tovin to light the old signal brazier. He then placed Sorrel in iron restraints. The fortress will see the flame, Tovin said. Reinforcements will arrive before dawn. Unless Sorrel replaced the watch, Dain replied. His suspicions silenced everyone. The midwife introduced herself as Alara Ven. She examined my pulse, checked the baby, and said we both needed warmth and rest. Dain removed his coat and wrapped it around us without being asked. The baby opened gray eyes that looked exactly like his. Dain touched one tiny fist with a scarred finger. His expression softened so completely that I forgot how to breathe. Did Maren choose a name? I asked Alara. She shook her head. He said the father should help. Dain looked at me. You never planned to let me meet him. Perhaps some part of me hoped you would. Orin, Dain said after a silence. It means light carried through winter. The baby tightened his fingers around Dain's hand. Maren Anclight, I said. Dain's gaze rose sharply to mine. You would give him my name? You came through fire for us. He should know that. For a moment, the distance between us disappeared. Dain leaned closer, but stopped before his forehead touched mine. Tell me what happened to you, he whispered. Not the confession. Not the lie you left behind. Tell me why you look at me as if you recognize my heart but not my face. I could not keep pretending. I remember pieces, I said. The archive. The ring. Your voice. But I do not remember leaving you or hiding here. It was true, even if it was not the whole truth. Dain studied me with the instincts of a man trained to expose deception. I expected anger. Instead, He sat beside me and unfastened a chain from beneath his shirt. A silver ring hung from it. You said I took this when I left. I thought you had. I found it inside your confession after you disappeared. He turned the ring. Tiny letters covered its inner edge, too small to read. The translation is not inside it, he said. This inscription is a message meant for me. What does it say? When the wolf forgets the moon, ask what the raven buried. The words opened another violent memory. Maren kneeling in the royal physician's chamber. A needle entering his neck. Captain Sorrel holding his shoulders. A masked physician saying that by the time the child was born, Maren would remember only the story they gave him. I gasped and nearly dropped the ring. Sorrel was there, I said. He helped someone erase Maren's memory. Dain heard the strange way I spoke the name. His eyes narrowed, but Sorrel began laughing from across the tower. You still do not understand, the captain said. Blood marked his teeth. The Duke was never the target. The Omega was. Dain crossed the room and seized his collar. Who marked my son? Ask your husband. He invited the physician himself. Liar. Search his left palm. Every face turned toward me. I opened Maren's hand. Beneath the dried blood was a faint black symbol I had not noticed before. A raven enclosed by a crescent. The same faction mark that appeared on Orin. Dain released Sorrel and came toward me slowly. That mark is given only to the faction's inner council, he said. I do not know why it is there. Sorrel laughed again. Tell him the rest, Maren. Tell him who gave us the codes and ordered us to open the blood vault. Be silent, Dain warned. It was not the king, Sorrel said. It was not the physician either. His eyes fixed on me. It was you. End of Part 2. Part 3. Sorrel's accusations settled over the tower like smoke. Dain stopped beside me, but he did not reach for his weapon. His attention moved from the black mark on my palm to Orin sleeping against my chest. I did not order anyone to open the vault, I said. You cannot remember what you ordered, Sorrel replied. Dain turned and struck him hard enough to overturn the chair. You will speak when I permit it. Sorrel spat blood onto the stones. Protect him if you wish. When the vault opens, the kingdom will learn what your love has cost. Alara took my hand before Dain could answer. She rubbed the mark with alcohol from her bag. This was applied recently, she said. The skin beneath it is punctured. Someone used a hollow needle to place dye under the surface. At the cottage, I whispered. I remembered a bitter taste before waking, and a stranger's fingers around my wrist. Someone had marked Maren while he was unconscious, knowing the symbol would make Dain doubt him. Dain examined the puncture. Sorrel needed us to believe you belonged to the faction. Or he needed you distracted from something else. Tovin hurried down from the tower stairs. Riders are approaching. 40. They carry the royal banner. Sorrel smiled. Dain noticed. Extinguish the brazier. Tovin obeyed, but the approaching soldiers had already seen the signal. Hooves surrounded the watchtower. A voice called from beyond the doors. Duke Arclight, by order of His Majesty, surrender the traitor Maren Ash and the child born from stolen royal blood. The phrase struck me harder than Sorrel's accusation. Stolen royal blood. The crescent on Orin was not a natural mark. It was placed there because someone wanted the world to believe my son belonged to the royal family. They are not here to rescue us, I said. No, Dain answered. They are here to give the king a reason to execute you. The commander outside demanded a response. Dain called back. State the winter oath. Silence followed. The commander answered with the old words. Dain drew his sword. Imposters. Tovin and 2 loyal guards braced the door while Alara wrapped Orin tightly and placed him in my arms. Dain crossed to Sorrel. How many entrances? 1. Dain pressed his blade against Sorrel's throat. Maren designed ciphers for border towers. He would never choose a refuge with 1 exit. For the first time, Sorrel looked uncertain. The phrase carved inside the silver ring returned to me. Ask what the raven buried. I searched the stone floor, and found a raven scratched beneath the rusted brazier. Dain helped me move it aside. Beneath the ashes was an iron handle. A passage, Ilara said. The door splintered behind us. Dain ordered Tovin to lead Ilara and Orin below. Then he looked at me. Go. Not without you. Maren. You said we were married. Stop commanding me as if I am one of your soldiers. Even with enemies breaking through the door, something warm entered his eyes. Then allow your husband to keep you alive. He cut Sorrel's restraints and shoved the captain toward the open passage. You are coming with us. Sorrel lunged for Dain's wounded shoulder. I drove the knife into Sorrel's thigh before he could strike. He fell with a shout. Dain stared at me. What? I asked. You hated blood. I am discovering new qualities. The door broke open. Dain pushed me into the passage and followed, pulling the brazier over the entrance. Darkness swallowed us while boots thundered above. The tunnel was narrow and cold. Tovin carried a lamp ahead. Ilara held Orin beneath Dain's coat, and the baby's silence frightened me more than the soldiers. I reached Ilara and touched his cheek. He was warm and breathing. Dain's hand settled at my back. He is safe. For how long? As long as I live. I faced him in the weak lamplight. You barely know who I am now. I know you placed yourself between Sorrel and our son. I know you noticed the trap before my guards did. I know that when everyone else sees a traitor, I still see the man who laughed while teaching me to dance. The tenderness in his voice hurt more than suspicion. What if Sorrel is right about me? Dain leaned close. Then we uncover why you did it. I will not condemn a man whose mind was stolen from him. Before I could answer, Sorrel laughed behind us. He will condemn you when he learns what you traded for that child. Dain turned, but the captain stamped on a loose stone. A section of the tunnel collapsed between us. Dust filled the passage. Sorrel disappeared with one of the guards on the other side. We could not dig through without alerting the soldiers above. Tovin led us onward until the tunnel ended in a sealed chamber. A raven symbol covered its door. The silver ring fit a circular hollow at its center. The lock opened. Inside waited a wooden box, 3 vials, and a letter written in Maren's hand. Dain unfolded it while I held the lamp. My husband. If I no longer remember you, the treatment worked. Do not restore my memory until our son is born. The code is hidden where no physician can extract it. Sorrel believes I joined him. Let him continue believing it. Dain looked at me. You erased your own memory to protect the code. I read the final line, and the fragile relief inside me died. Do not take the child to the capital. The king was murdered 3 days ago. The man wearing his crown is an imposter. End of Part 3. Part 4. Dain read Maren's warning twice before folding the letter. The king cannot be dead, Tovin said. He addressed the court yesterday. An imposter addressed the court, Dain replied. I thought of the novel I had read in my old life. King Garrick was supposed to survive until the final chapter. He was stubborn, suspicious, and impossible to imitate. If Maren had discovered a replacement, then the story had changed long before I arrived. Or perhaps the book had never told the truth. Ilara lifted the 3 vials from the box. One contained clear liquid, another was blue, and the last held silver powder. There are instructions beneath them, she said. Dain removed a thin page from the box. The blue vial reverses the physician's memory treatment. The clear one exposes altered blood. The powder neutralizes crescent poison. Ilara looked down at Orin. His breathing had become shallow. I pulled back the blanket. Dark veins spread from the crescent on his shoulder. Poison, I said. The dye carried it into his blood, Ilara answered. Whoever marked him expected him to die before Dain could prove he was the father. My hands began shaking. The faction had not needed to kidnap Orin. They had turned his own skin into a weapon. Ilara mixed the silver powder with water. This may stop it, but the dose was prepared for an adult. Too much could harm him. Use my blood to dilute it, Dain said. That is not how medicine works. Then tell me what is. The command cracked with helplessness. A memory moved through me. Maren studying formulas beside a royal physician, and writing measurements in cipher. 6 grains in 12 drops of warmed water, I said. Give him 1 drop for every hour since the mark was placed. Alara stared at me. How can you know that? Maren knew. Dain heard the distance in my words again, but Orin made a weak sound and there was no time for questions. Alara prepared the dose. I held Orin while she placed 3 drops beneath his tongue. Nothing happened. Then he cried. The sound was thin but furious. Color returned to his face as the dark veins began fading. Dain lowered his forehead to mine. His breath shook. Thank you, he whispered. He is our son. You never have to thank me for fighting for him. His hand cupped the back of my neck. For one dangerous heartbeat, I thought he would kiss me. I wanted him to. The realization frightened me more than the soldiers searching above. My feelings were not only remnants from Maren's body. I wanted Dain with the mind that remembered another world. He stopped himself and stepped away. You need the blue vial. What if restoring Maren erases me? Dain's face changed. Explain. There was no safe lie left. I remember another life. Another world. I fell asleep while reading a book about this kingdom. When I woke, I was Maren, but his memories were broken pieces inside me. I do not know whether I replaced him or became part of him. Tovin stared. Alara remained silent. Dain only watched me. Say something, I whispered. What did the book say about me? That you were feared. That you never forgave betrayal. It never said you had a husband. Then it was a poorly informed book. Another error. You are confident for a man surrounded by enemies. I survived 32 years by refusing to let other people decide how my story ends. He looked at Orin. Now I have better reasons to survive than I did before. I almost laughed despite everything. Dain took the blue vial and held it toward the lamp. If this could destroy the man standing before me, I will not ask you to drink it. But Maren hid the code inside his memory. We will find another way. You love him. I do. The answer struck without hesitation. Dain moved closer. But when you protected Orin, argued with me, and drove a knife into Sorrel, I saw someone both familiar and new. I will not sacrifice you to recover the version of my husband I lost. My eyes burned. What if he is still here? Then I will wait until both of you choose me. This time I closed the distance. The kiss was brief and careful, but it carried every promise neither of us could safely make. Orin interrupted with another angry cry. Alara smiled. His timing is excellent. The soldiers above found the chamber entrance. Tovin discovered another passage behind the wooden box. We escaped before the first enemy reached the door. The tunnel opened beyond the forest near a frozen river, where Dain's hidden supply horses waited inside a ruined stable. We rode through the remaining night. Dain kept me and Orin before him, one arm around us while he guided the horse with the other. By midday, dark towers rose above the mountains. Arclight Fortress, he said. My soldiers will protect you there. The gates opened at his signal. Hundreds of armored men filled the courtyard. For the first time since waking, I believed we had reached safety. Then Dain stopped his horse. Royal banners hung from every wall. His soldiers were on their knees with weapons piled before them. Captain Sorrel stood above them, his wounded leg bandaged and a satisfied smile on his face. Beside him waited a man wearing King Garrick's crown. He looked exactly like the king described in the novel, except for the black raven ring on his hand. Welcome home, Duke Arclight, the impostor said. Give me Maren and the child, or watch every soldier loyal to you die. End of Part 4. Part 5. Dain's arm tightened around me as royal archers raised their bows. One order from me and half this courtyard dies, the crowned impostor said. Choose carefully. 3 kneeling soldiers already bled from wounds. Dain could fight through the gate, but his own men would pay for every step. I placed Orin in Alara's arms and dismounted. Maren, Dain warned. Trust me. I faced the impostor. If you kill Dain or any of his soldiers, I will never open the blood vault. The man's smile thinned. You erased the code. I hid it. That is different. Sorrel limped down the steps. He is bluffing. Then kill me and discover whether you are right. Dain dismounted beside me. His expression remained cold, but his hand brushed mine once. He understood that surrender was our only move. The impostor ordered the archers to lower their bows. Take them inside. The Omega, the Duke, the child, and the midwife. Lock Tovin with the soldiers. Dain's fortress had become a prison. Royal troops filled every hall. Servants stood against the walls with their heads lowered, while raven symbols had been painted over the Arclight crest. We were brought to Dain's private chamber. The windows were barred, the fire was cold, and 6 guards waited outside. Elara settled Orin in a cradle that Dain had ordered months ago, but never expected to use. The impostor entered alone. Up close, he looked perfectly like King Garrick. Only his eyes were wrong. The king in the novel had been fierce and impatient. This man watched everyone as if measuring where to cut. Who are you? I asked. He removed the raven ring. Beneath it was a thin scar circling his finger. Prince Corvin, Dain said. The name disturbed a memory. Garrick had been born with an identical twin, but the second infant supposedly died before the naming ceremony. Corvin smiled. Your father helped bury an empty coffin, Dain. He always feared that 2 heirs would divide the kingdom. You murdered your brother for a crown. Garrick is alive. For now. Dain stepped forward, and every trace of restraint vanished. Where is he? Beneath the royal palace. His blood opens the outer vault door, but the inner mechanism belongs to the Ash line. That is why I need Maren. I looked at Orin. Why mark my son? The poison should have killed him quietly. His death would have broken you, and grief makes people obedient. Sorrel became impatient and attacked the cottage before the poison finished its work. Sorrel had disobeyed Corvin. The weakness might be useful. You will leave Orin here with Elara, I said. Dain comes with me to the capital. Your soldiers release 1 Arclight prisoner for every stage of the vault I open. You make demands from a locked room. Because you still cannot open the vault without me. Corvin studied me. The frightened translator finally grew teeth. You should be grateful. They are the reason your poison failed. Dain hid his reaction, but I knew he wanted to smile. Corvin agreed to consider my terms and left. The lock turned behind him. Dain crossed to the fireplace and pressed a carved wolf beneath the mantle. A compartment opened. It held a blade, a map of the fortress tunnels, and 3 signal coins. I designed this room to resist an invasion, he said. You plan for royal soldiers? I plan for everyone. Elara took 1 coin. Can this reach Tovin? If he is in the western cells, the pipes will carry its sound. Dain dropped another coin into a brass tube. Somewhere below, metal answered twice. Elara checked the adjoining room and found no guards inside. Dain pulled me close. You offered to walk into the palace with him. That is where Garrick and the vault are. It is also where Corvin can kill you. He will not until I open the inner door. And afterward? That is why I married a dangerous duke. Dain's anger broke into reluctant amusement. You are beginning to sound like Maren. Does that trouble you? No. It makes me hope you are not 2 souls fighting for 1 life. Perhaps you are 1 soul remembering 2. He touched my face gently. I leaned into his palm. There is something I did not tell Corvin, I said. I still have the blue vial. Dain looked toward Elara. She had hidden it inside Orin's blanket when the soldiers searched us. You do not need to use it, he said. I need enough memory to open the vault. Not all of it. Elara warned that a partial dose could restore only fragments or cause confusion. I poured 1 drop into a cup of water. Dain caught my wrist. If you feel yourself disappearing, come back to my voice. What should you say? He pressed his forehead to mine. I will remind you that you chose me in 2 lives. I drank. Pain split through my skull. The chamber vanished. I saw Maren inside the royal archive 6 months earlier. Corvin stood beside a strange glass panel covered with written pages. It showed images from another world. My old apartment. My old hands turning the pages of a novel. Maren could see me reading about him. He placed one palm against the glass and spoke words I heard across 2 lives. If they erase me, find Dain. Wake in my body when Orin needs you. Finish the story they tried to bury. The memory shattered. I woke on the floor with Dain holding me, and Orin crying nearby. Now I understood why I had entered Maren's body. It had never been an accident. Maren had chosen me. End of Part 5. Part 6. Dain held me until the pain from the memory faded. Maren chose me before I ever opened the book, I said. The story was a doorway. Alara watched the blue liquid settle in the vial. Do you remember the vault code? Only part of it. I remember why Corvin wants inside. Boots approached the chamber before I could explain. Corvin entered with Sorrel and 12 guards. We leave for the capital now. Your terms are accepted. The child and the midwife remain here. Dain accompanies you. Sorrel looked disappointed. He wanted Orin within reach. Dain slipped the fortress map into his sleeve, while Corvin's guards chained our wrists together. I kissed Orin's forehead and whispered for Alara to listen for 3 notes through the pipe. Tovin will come, I told her. And if he does not? Use Dain's hidden passage. Take Orin north. Leaving my son felt like tearing away part of my body, but taking him near the vault would be worse. Corvin led us through the courtyard. Dain's captured soldiers remained alive. As our carriage passed beneath the gate, 3 metallic notes echoed from somewhere inside the fortress. Tovin was free. Dain heard them and pressed his shoulder against mine. That small contact was the only relief we allowed ourselves. The journey lasted 2 days. Sorrel rode beside the carriage and checked our chains at every stop. Corvin traveled ahead beneath the royal banner, greeting villagers as King Garrick. When the carriage stopped, Sorrel left 2 guards outside and went to report to Corvin. Dain used the darkness to examine our chain. You remember our wedding now? He asked. Only the ring and your voice. You wore a blue coat. You complained that the chapel smelled of dust. Then you kissed me before the priest finished speaking. That sounds reckless. You were terrified. Of marrying you? Of being happy when enemies could take it away. I rested my head against him. When this ends, tell me every detail. I would rather marry you again. Inside the carriage, I told Dain what the restored memory had shown me. The blood vault contains an instrument called the Chronicle Glass. The Ash family built it generations ago. It can reveal possible futures and send fragments of those futures into other worlds as stories. Your novel was one of those fragments. Yes. Corvin used the glass to study every path where his rebellion failed. Maren discovered him and sent a different story to me. Dain frowned. Why you? I do not know yet. Perhaps he saw that you would love Orin before holding him. That sounds like faith, not strategy. The best strategies require both. Our chained hands rested between us. I laced my fingers through his. Alara and Tovin will protect him, Dain said. You cannot promise that. No. But I can promise that we will return. I believed him because I needed to. The capital welcomed Corvin with bells. Crowds filled the streets, cheering the man they believed was their king. I remembered the novel describing this day as Garrick's triumphant return after the Northern Uprising. Corvin had stolen even that victory. We entered the palace through a guarded service gate. Sorrel took us below the royal chapel, down stairs that spiraled deeper than the foundations. The air smelled of iron. At the final landing, Corvin pressed his bleeding palm against a metal plate. Nothing happened. The outer door rejects him, I whispered. Corvin's expression hardened. Bring my brother. 2 guards dragged a thin man from a nearby cell. His beard was untrimmed and bruises covered his arms, but his eyes burned with royal fury. King Garrick was alive. He saw Dain and gave a rough laugh. I wondered when my warhound would notice the wrong man wore my crown. I was occupied finding my husband, Dain replied. Garrick looked at me. Then you found more trouble than either of us needed. Corvin cut Garrick's palm and forced it against the plate. Locks turned inside the wall. A circular door opened, revealing a corridor lined with dark glass. Corvin faced me. Now the ash seal. At the corridor's end waited another door covered in rotating letters. I remembered Maren's hands arranging them, but the final phrase remained hidden. Corvin drew a knife and placed it against Dain's throat. Open it. If you kill him, you lose me. I do not need to kill him. Pain will be enough. Dain met my eyes. Do not obey, his expression said. Instead, I studied the letters. The ring's inscription returned. When the wolf forgets the moon, ask what the raven buried. The answer was not a sentence. It was 3 names. Dain. Maren. Orin. I arranged them on the door. The ash seal opened. Beyond it stood a chamber filled with glass panels. Words moved across them like ink beneath water. Some showed wars. Others showed births, betrayals, and deaths that had not happened. Corvin walked inside with wonder on his face. At last, he whispered. No enemy will ever surprise me again. Garrick leaned toward me. The glass does not predict one future. It tempts the viewer with thousands. Corvin will lose himself searching for a path where everyone obeys him. The largest panel awakened. It showed Arclight Fortress burning. Tovin lay dead beside the cradle. Alara was gone. Sorrel carried Orin through the gates while flames consumed Dain's soldiers. That has not happened, I said. Not yet, Corvin replied. The image changed. Now Dain stood inside the vault with blood on his sword. I was kneeling before him, wounded. Orin cried in my arms. Dain raised the blade and drove it toward my heart. End of Part 6. Part 7. Dain did not look away from the image of his sword entering my chest. It is one possible future, I said. Not a command. Corvin circled the glass. Every future ends with one of you betraying the other. Maren abandons you. You kill him. The child becomes a weapon. Why struggle against what the glass has already seen? Dain lifted our chained hands. Because it never saw us choose together. The panel flickered. The image of my death split into dozens of different endings. In some, Dain dropped the sword. In others, I disarmed him. One showed us leaving the vault together. Corvin's confidence weakened. The glass responds to choices, I said. That is why you cannot control it. You search for obedience, but every person creates another path. King Garrick laughed despite his chains. All those stolen futures and you still failed to understand people. Corvin struck him. Dain moved, but Sorrel placed a blade against my back. Try it and the Omega dies. Corvin faced the panel showing Arclight Fortress. The chronicle glass can do more than observe. An ash keeper can turn one vision into a passage. Open it, Maren. No. Then watch the fortress burn in every future. He ordered a guard to pour oil across the vault floor. Another carried a torch toward the moving words. Maren's restored memories warned me that fire would shatter the panels and send their fragments into thousands of worlds. Corvin would destroy every possible warning if I refused. I placed my marked palm against the glass. The surface warmed. The image of the fortress courtyard became clear enough to hear voices. Tovin stood beside Orin's cradle, alive. Alara held the baby while freed Arclight soldiers secured Corvin's remaining troops. The future we had seen was already changing. Dain exhaled. Sorrel stared at the open passage with desperate hunger. Corvin saw it too. Bring me the child, Corvin ordered. Sorrel stepped through the glass before anyone could stop him. Close it, Dain shouted. I tried, but Corvin seized my wrist and kept my palm against the panel. On the other side, Sorrel struck Tovin from behind. Alara ran toward the western hall with Orin, but soldiers loyal to Sorrel emerged from a side corridor. Dain pulled the hidden blade from his sleeve and broke the chain between us. He drove his shoulder into Corvin, freeing my hand. The passage began closing. Dain jumped through. I followed before the glass became solid. We landed in the fortress courtyard. Tovin fought two attackers near the gate. Dain reached Sorrel as he tore Orin from Alara's arms. The captain held the baby against his chest, and backed toward the fading panel. "Drop your sword," he told Dain. Dain obeyed. Sorrel smiled. The vicious Duke finally learned fear. "You are holding my son. Fear is the last mercy you will receive from me." I moved behind Sorrel, while his attention remained on Dain. Alara understood, and threw a metal cup across the stones. Sorrel turned at the sound. Dain struck his injured leg. Sorrel fell, and I caught Orin before he hit the ground. Relief lasted one breath. Corvin stepped through the glass with a knife at Garrick's throat. Royal guards dragged the weakened king behind them. "Give me the child," Corvin said, "or Garrick dies here." The passage remained open, because Corvin wore the raven ring. It was another ash key, stolen from Maren's family. Garrick met my eyes. "Do not trade the kingdom for me." "Your kingdom has traded enough lives," I answered. I handed Orin to Dain, and took the clear vial from my coat. Corvin believed it only exposed altered blood. Maren's memories now revealed its second purpose. On chronicle glass, it forced every connected panel to show the same truth. I threw the liquid against the open passage. Corvin's reflection changed. His crown vanished. The scars from years of forbidden treatments covered his face. Across the capital, every palace panel would be showing the same image. Nobles, guards, and servants would see that their king was an impostor. Corvin screamed and lunged at me. Dain's sword flashed past my shoulder. For one instant, the scene matched the terrible future. I stood wounded with Orin crying nearby, and Dain drove his blade toward my heart. But the blade passed beneath my arm and entered Corvin's shoulder. We had changed the ending. Corvin fell through the passage. His blood struck the glass, turning the image into the palace throne room. Dain caught my face between his hands and searched for blood. The sword had only cut my coat. "I saw the vision," he said. For a moment I believed my hand had obeyed it. "You aimed where you chose. I will always choose you. Even if saving me costs the crown." "I never wanted a crown." "What about the kingdom?" He looked toward Garrick, then Orin. "A kingdom is not one throne. It is everyone Corvin treats as pieces. We save our son, free Garrick, and let the people choose what follows." I kissed him once. "Then we write our own future." Sorrel recovered and seized Orin from Dain while Dain protected me from the falling panel. Before we could reach him, Sorrel carried the baby through. The passage closed. I pressed both hands against the glass, but it showed only darkness. Then Corvin's voice echoed from every panel. "Come to the throne room before midnight, Dain. Bring Maren and the true king. In front of the entire court, you will execute your husband as a traitor. Refuse and your son dies." Dain picked up his bloodied sword. Midnight was less than 1 hour away. End of Part 7. Part 8. The chronicle glass would not answer my hands. "Corvin sealed the passage with the raven ring," Garrick said. "There is another route beneath the chapel, but we cannot reach the capital in an hour." Dain examined the silver wedding ring hanging from his neck. The raven ring was stolen from the Ash family. "This belongs to Maren." He placed it against the glass. Nothing happened. I covered his hand with mine, and spoke the 3 names that had opened the vault. Dain, Maren, Orin. The panel brightened. Instead of showing the throne room, it revealed the royal chapel where Dain and Maren had married in secret. "It remembers our vows," Dain said. The glass became a passage. Garrick crossed first, followed by Dain and me. We emerged behind the chapel altar. Palace bells announced midnight as we hurried through a hidden corridor toward the throne room. The clear vial had done its work. Servants and guards whispered about Corvin's true face. Some removed raven badges from their uniforms when they saw Garrick alive. Others joined us without being asked. By the time we reached the throne room, 20 loyal guards walked behind their king. The doors opened. Every noble in the capital had been forced to attend. Corvin sat on the throne with blood soaking his bandaged shoulder. Sorrel stood beside him, holding Orin. A knife rested against my son's blanket. "You are late," Corvin said. Orin cried when he heard my voice. Every instinct demanded that I run to him, but Sorrel tightened his grip. Garrick stepped forward. Gasps moved across the court as the brothers faced each other. "Your king is alive," Garrick said. "Release the child and surrender." Corvin laughed. "A starved prisoner wearing my face proves nothing." "Then let the chronicle glass prove it," I answered. Dark panels lined the throne room walls. I pressed Maren's ring against the nearest one. The clear liquid had connected them to the vault. Images appeared across every surface. The court watched Corvin confess that Garrick lived beneath the palace. They watched him admit poisoning Orin, and ordering the deaths of Dain's soldiers. His own words filled the hall. The royal guards lowered their weapons. Corvin stood. "Illusions created by a traitorous Omega." "Your blood failed the outer vault seal," Garrick said. "Mine opened it. Any guard may test us again." No one moved to defend Corvin. His expression twisted. "Then the child dies with my claim." Sorrel raised the knife. Dain placed his sword on the floor. "You wanted me to execute Maren," he said. "Release Orin and I will kneel." "Dain, no," I said. He looked at me with complete trust. "We choose together." I understood. Dain knelt between me and Sorrel. Corvin ordered me to stand before him. I obeyed, placing myself in the path shown by the terrible future. "Pick up the sword," Corvin commanded. Dain reached for it. At that moment, I pressed both palms against the floor. The throne room panels changed to the fortress courtyard. Tovin and Alara stood on the other side with dozens of Arclight soldiers. The glass opened beneath the sword. Tovin's hand reached through and pulled it away before Dain could touch it. Alara threw a vial into Sorrel's face. He recoiled as bitter medicine blinded him. Dain moved. He struck Sorrel's wrist, caught Orin, and passed him to me. Garrick's guards surrounded Corvin before he reached the throne room door. Sorrel tried to escape through the open panel, but Tovin dragged him into the fortress courtyard where the soldiers he had betrayed waited. Corvin stared at the empty throne. "I saw every future," he whispered. "I was supposed to win." "You saw futures where everyone behaved like pieces," I said. "You never imagined they would choose each other." Garrick removed the crown from his brother's head. "Prince Corvin, you will answer for treason, murder, and crimes against the crown." The court knelt to its true king. Dain did not kneel until he knew Orin was breathing safely in my arms. Dain took us to the chapel. He checked Orin's hands, face, and breathing before Alara examined him. "You can stop pretending," I said. "Pretending what?" "That you are not terrified." Dain pressed a kiss to Orin's hair. "I was feared by armies, yet one crying child has made me helpless." "You are not helpless. You brought him home." "We brought him home," he corrected, drawing me into his arms. 3 months later, Garrick publicly cleared my name and recognized my marriage to Dain. He offered Dain command of every royal army. Dain accepted only after Garrick agreed to reform the laws that had allowed Omegas to be treated as political property. Alara became the royal physician responsible for protecting those reforms. Tovin became commander of Arclight Fortress. Sorrel and Corvin were sentenced by the court they had tried to control. The chronicle glass was sealed. I kept one small panel in the royal archive, not to search for perfect futures, but to send warnings where they were needed. On Orin's first birthday, Dain and I returned to the chapel, and married again before our friends. I wore blue, just as Maren had the first time. After the ceremony, Dain found me beside the quiet glass. "Do you miss your other world?" he asked. "Sometimes. But I think Maren and I were always parts of the same story." He gave me his memories, and I gave him another ending. Dain wrapped one arm around me, while Orin slept against his chest. "Is this ending enough?" I kissed my husband and listened to our son's peaceful breathing. "No," I said. "It is our beginning." End of Part 8. And that is the end of Maren and Dain's story. Their future was never decided by the chronicle glass. It was created by every choice they made for love, trust, and family. If you enjoyed their journey, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more emotional BL stories. Tell me in the comments which moment surprised you the most. Would you have trusted Dain, and would you choose to see your future or write it yourself? Thank you so much for watching until the end. Your support means everything, and I will see you in the next story.